Hi, I'm Russ Whitney, and welcome. You either found me via the internet or you saw my TV show. And I've been on television for over 30 years. And guys, if you don't know me, let me give you a brief history. I started out in real estate investing at 20 years old. Obviously, I'm a little older now. And, I was working in a slaughterhouse. Basically, I worked a factory job. I made $5 an hour and went up to $6.50. Sometimes there's controversy on the internet. Did he make $5 or $6.50? Who cares? It wasn't a lot. And I did what many of you have done. I started sending away for all these get-rich-quick ads that you see in the back of magazines. Now, understand, I never graduated high school and went through some tough times, in my early life, as I bet some of you have too. And I just wanted to do something better with my life. I was married at 20. I had already had a baby on the way. So I had my first baby by the time I was 21. And, man, she turned out to be a gorgeous little girl, too, by the way. And, guys, I just knew I could do something better with my life, but I didn't know what. And I know you probably feel the same way. So I start sending away for all these get-rich-quick ads that you see in the back of magazines. Now, maybe you're doing that maybe that's similar to you by you seeing me either on the internet or, on the infomercial. And I sent for DuraClean, Jenny King, how to stuff envelopes to make $300,000 a year for the rest of your life. You name it, I did it. And none of those worked for me. Now, guys, I have a different view on that than I may have years ago. But one day I sent off for this book on real estate investing, and there were no magical answers in this book, but it had a concept. And the concept simply talked about this. It said, if you have the common sense to see that if you go to an area town and look for properties that are in run-down, beat-up shape, cosmetically distressed properties, okay? And a decent area, but we're looking for a beat-up old property. And there's a lot more detail in this 10 lessons that I'm going to give you on that very subject. Where do you find them? How do you find them? Exactly, which are the right ones that have the most amount of profit? How can you buy them with a little or no money? How do you actually buy one and actually make money when you buy? Folks, that's doable. In fact, more doable right now in this economy than I've ever seen it in 30 years. So, if you've tuned in, I'd say stay tuned, because these 10 lessons, whether you're a member of our network now or not, these 10 lessons can benefit you greatly. So let's just go to my story. Read this book, and it says, go to area town, buy properties in rundown, beat-up shape. If you have the common sense to see that if you paint them, clean them, and jazz them up, you could raise the value of these properties eye appeal-wise, okay? Now, that made sense to me. But what made even more sense is this book had a formula. And it said that you can figure out whether or not a property will make money or not. An income property, too, by the way. That's what we're focusing on. You can figure out whether or not a property will make money or not before you ever buy it. So you can reduce your risk or almost eliminate to no risk. Well, I don't know about you, but I bet you, like me, couldn't afford risk. Nor did I want any. I was raised with this thought of, hey, you get a job, go to work every day, pay your bills. Don't try anything too risky, and everything will be okay. Well, you know what? I don't know about you, but everything wasn't okay. I wasn't living my dreams. I wasn't driving the car I wanted. I didn't see a lot of hope. I wanted the ride-on lawnmower, which may sound silly today, but you know what? I didn't see that hope. And so when I read this book showed me this formula, and it said, all you have to do is add up the rents. If you have a duplex and each side rents for $1,000, you have $2,000 coming in. Deduct what they call variable expenses. Now, I didn't know a variable expense from a hole in the ground. That sounds like, rocket science to me. But a variable expense is nothing more than a household budget term, guys. It's taxes, insurance, water, sewer charge for the house, maintenance and vacancy. And if there's money left over, that's positive cash flow. Well, I could even understand that at 20 years old. It made all the sense in the world to me. Now, I used a strategy out of this book. Now, understand that I didn't know real estate from a hole in the ground. I'm telling you that I bought a $10 book back then. And that's what got me started. You're here looking at me with either the offer of coming to a training event or our quick start system. However you got here the same way I got this $10 book. And so before I give you, some of the detail on getting to that cash flow, first thing I want to talk to you about is that sixth sense. And that is, I say that, I just felt it, or I had this creative idea then. But when I read this book, guys, maybe it was my ignorance, maybe because I didn't have a lot of worldly and social experience. I can't tell you that. All I knew is it made sense. And in my heart of hearts, I said, you know what? I can do this. At least, if I couldn't do it, I had to at least give it a try. And that's what I did. I gave this thing a try. And I used a technique, and I'm going to teach you that in this 10 lesson series that you're tuning into, okay, today being lesson 1. I used a technique out of that book called the seller subordination technique. Again, complicated word. Now, I didn't know a mortgage from a hole in the ground. I was renting, you know what I mean, 20 years old, working a slaughterhouse job, no credit, nothing. And I didn't question this technique. You know, my feeling back then is if it was in a book, it had to be true. Now, of course, today, you know, you probably don't think that, but I mean, that's how I was thinking. And thank God for my ignorance. You know what? Sometimes, you know, we can get too smart. And I heard this saying from a guy who was a mentor to me over the years. His name is Jim Rohn. And Jim has this beautiful statement. He said, whatever you do, don't let your learning lead to knowledge or you'll become a fool, he says. Let your learning lead to action. That's what gets people rich. In more ways than one, action is always the key. Stop looking outside for the problem. Stop blaming the sun and the moon and the stars, my mom and my dad, the economy and the president. And it's ridiculous. Start looking inside for the answers. If you have a feeling right now that you could do something better with your life, if you know you have the common sense and you feel this right now, then you can. And you know what? Maybe real estate is nothing more than a stepping stone. I can tell you this, that people come to me all the time. I've trained thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, folks. I created the largest training company in the world. At one point, I had more than 60,000 people a month come into my training programs. And you know what? Some of them came for a reason. You probably heard this. Some came for a season, some for a lifetime. Maybe I'm a stepping stone, you know, maybe real estate isn't what you do. Maybe you don't become Donald Trump, but maybe I show you how to buy a duplex. I know I can do that. Maybe I show you how to buy a 3 or 4 unit. I show you how to get financially independent, folks. That's simply having enough money coming in to pay your mortgage payment, car payment, put food on the table, and have enough money left over without having to work a full-time job. Think about that. How much would that be for you? $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month? For most people, will be enough to make car payment, mortgage payment, put food on the table, have enough money left over without having to go to a job. That's financially independent. Now I have all day to think about how to make money. I have all day to take these 10 sessions that I'm going to give you. I maybe have time to call Russ Whitney's office and talk to one of his coaches, his life and his financial coaches that can give me a step-by-step plan to do this. Maybe you have time for that. It all starts with nothing more than financial independence, guys. So that's what I say. Maybe you're here for a reason, maybe a season, maybe a lifetime. If you feel you know, that this is something you might be able to do. The investment is so minimal. Why wouldn't we take a shot? Listen to me. Feeding your mind is like feeding your body. That's what you're doing right now. If you want to change something, you've got to change something. You know, Tony Robbins, one of the first testimonials in my first book, says that the definition of insanity, which, by the way, I think this came from Einstein, though, not from Tony. But he says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, man. If you want to change something, let's change something. Let's go back to feeding the mind is like feeding the body. You know, you eat every day because if you don't eat, you starve, you dehydrate. All right, so you eat. You eat bad things happen to you. What about this? What about the mind? Guys, what about that? What if I'm not feeding my mind with new information? Then I'm destined to do what I've been doing. What you're doing right now is you're getting a little mind feed. You know what I believe you need right now? I can give you strategies all day long. I can teach you how to add up rents, deduct expenses, and make cash flow. I can teach you the financing techniques to buy with little or no money down without credit. I can teach that to an 8th grader, guys. That's the easy stuff. The tough stuff is what's going on in here. My mom, my dad, my brother, sister said I can't do it. What we need is hope. That's what you need. What about a little hope? Are you feeling that right now? Why not try something? And if you're not going to do it today, when are you going to do it? The only recourse to that is to continue to lumber through life. You know, continue to bumble. And I don't mean that insultingly. I'm just saying to bumble through life. Guys, I have made tens of millions of dollars. I started with duplexes and fourplexes. I have made a career out of helping people achieve their financial goals, understand how money works, understand how to start with nothing and build something from that. There's no question in my mind, folks, that I can do that. And I think you know that I can help you do that. And so it starts with, where do I start? Let's start with the simplest, easiest way to make money, and that's in real estate, guys. 66% of the American public owns a house. Okay, 66% do it by accident. Imagine if they knew what they were doing. And here's how that generally goes. All right, we go buy a house. Why? We don't buy it for an investment purpose. We buy it because we're going to start raising a family now, okay? So we figure out, whether through a realtor or whatever, how to put some money down and go get a mortgage. Well, if financing is tight and you got no credit, then you have to use seller financing or a lease option or a dozen other ways that I will show you in this 10-step series, or this 10 training series on how to do that for yourself. But you can figure that out on your own. You don't even need me to do that. So we buy the house, and here's how it goes. We buy this house for $100,000. We put X down or little down or no down. We do sweat equity. We fix it up so we don't have to put money down on it. And we pay it off over the next 20, 25 years. And now the house 25 years later is worth $300,000. And it's now free and clear. You know what? We sell that house. That $300,000 is the biggest single lump sum of money most Americans will ever lay their hands on in a lifetime. Why not? Why not? If you could do it once, could you do it twice? What if we showed you how to do it with a rental property where the tenants now pay the rent and you take their rent and you make the mortgage payment so it's not coming out of your pocket? And now you have someone else paying this house off. What if you did nothing more than buy one more house? And at the end of this 20 or 25 years, you have an extra $300,000 or $400,000. Not the end of the world, but that could significantly change the economic outcome and the economic product of somebody's life. And that's just the start of it, folks. I can tell you this. In my accelerated wealth training program, where people actually come down and spend time with me and my staff, we will go right to Craigslist, right to bandit signs, right to the classified ads. I'll make phone calls just to show you this can be done. I'll make phone calls on the paper. We'll get on a bus the next day. We'll go out into the field and we'll identify 3 to 5 properties, maybe 6 that we can buy with little or no money that generate anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month in positive cash flow. And we'll put offers on them. We actually do. We bring in bankers, mortgage brokers, so we show you, we take you right through that process, literally hands-on, where you absolutely have the proof and the evidence that this is not only done by me, it's no miracle. This can be done every day in any major or minor city in the United States, and is every. The only difference is our training is pure. Our training is on the job. It's out in the field. We actually do this. The biggest aha I get most times out of those trainings is not that there's any miracle to it. It's like once someone sees me get done making the phone calls and showing you which properties to buy, how to segment your city and do it where you live, I'd say the biggest excitement is, I can do that. You know what I mean? People now realize, wow, I could do this. The only thing you're lacking is that nobody's ever sat you down and showed you step by step how to do it. And you know, what I found in life through most of my students, and thousands of them, guys, my passion is to pass on my blessing. What I found with most of my students is mom, dad, brother, sister, preacher, teacher are the people who trained us. All we got is what's been put into our mental factory our whole life. If we want to get a different output, we got to get a different input. I got to tell you this, that, let's take a child. You take an infant, a 2-year-old child that lives in a ghetto, worst ghetto in the worst city, LA or New York City, wherever that worst ghetto is. And that child's mom is a dope addict or a heroin addict. And they're growing up with rats and roaches in a horrible environment. And if that child grows up in that environment till they're 18 years old, they're going to have a very limited view on how life is going to treat them and what they can accomplish. What if you took the same child out of the ghetto at 2 years old, then you brought him to live with me, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, you brought him to live with a Donald Trump, and they got different input. When that child gets to 18 years old, that child is going to have a completely different idea on the possibilities, not the limitations, but what are the possibilities in life, what they can do. The opportunities that exist right here, and those exist for you. You have a chance to pull yourself out of that ghetto right now, whether that's a ghetto in the mind or a physical ghetto. You have a chance to pull yourself out by staying with this, by taking this training, by taking that minimal risk, which is no risk at all, because any training I have and anything I do always comes with a money-back guarantee. And you know what? Why would I do this? I can tell you this. I get more benefit out of the training than you do. Because every time I do one of these trainings, I get the miracle of spilling a little of my own medicine on myself. Keeps me on track, helps me grow, and helps me get better. And it also helps me realize my own dreams of what I'm here for. And that's to help you find your way. This is Russ Whitney signing off.